Hello friends! Today we'll show you a shock absorber
Един амортисьор.
that attracts a lot of interest among our customers.
Голям интерес сред нашите клиенти. Става въпрос за
It's a shock absorber from a Lexus RX450 hybrid, generation AL10. Here's the part number.
парт номера.
What's interesting about the RX? The suspension is of the McPherson type.
Отпред е тип Макферсън. При Макферсън окачването,
In a McPherson setup, the entire load from the wheel to the chassis
цялото натоварване от колелото към
is transmitted through the shock absorber, and when the wheel turns,
когато завива
the shock absorber rotates together with it. That's why there's a bearing and a bushing on top.
отгоре има лагер и тампон.
This here is the McPherson top mount and bearing.
На Макферсън.
The shock absorber is twin tube and a bit unusual. We'll show you why.
И е малко странен. Ще ви покажем защо е странен.
This unusual thing is the dust cover.
Това странно нещо,
This is an original shock absorber with an original dust cover that has a huge opening.
който има една огромна дупка.
Why this opening is here is a mystery.
Малко мистерия.
All the mud, dust, and dirt enter through this opening,
Прах, мърсотия влизат през този отвор под прахоловите.
and the dust protection is useless. In other words, the dust cover here is absolutely pointless.
Буквално
Now we'll cut it open to show you what's happening underneath.
покажем какво се случва под него.
My colleague will cut it.
Колегата ще го среже.
As you can see,
Нищо особено не е причинил.
the dust cover hasn't done its job.
Не си е много свършил работата.
These cars very rarely have problems with air loss, but almost all of them knock.
Но почти всички тропат. Има
There's a very strong knocking noise.
тропането от няколко,
There are several reasons for the knocking. The first is the top bearing,
което е опорния лагер, който
which I'll show you in a moment. This is the top mount. Inside there's a bearing and a rubber bushing.
е
Another reason for knocking is leakage from the shock absorber.
при тези амортисьори.
The shocks are KYB and compared with other models we've shown you.
Различно
Here the air spring is welded to the shock absorber.
към амортисьора.
That is, the air spring cannot be separated from the damper.
Отдели от амортисьора.
This means we can't repair the shock absorber without modifying or cutting the air spring.
Това означава, че ние не можем да отремонтираме амортисьора без да променим или без да срежем възглавницата.
First, we'll remove the top mount. We've already loosened the nut.
Опората ние тук сме отвили гайката,
Here's the top mount, which we'll show you in a moment.
която след малко ще ви покажа. Лагера.
This is the bearing together with the bushing. When you replace the top mount, the knocking usually doesn't go away,
Не се оправят с тропането, защото освен
because the major problem is the shock absorber itself. It's leaking.
колегата Саша,
My colleague will now cut the air spring
да ви покажем вътре какво се случва.
to show you what's happening inside. I'm intentionally not cutting the video, so you can see at the very moment of opening
Видеото, за да видите при самото рязане
what starts to leak.
какво се случва.
That's enough. You can see what's leaking from the air spring.
Виждате какво изтича от възглавницата.
The whole shock absorber has leaked. This hydraulic oil
Е изтекъл във възглавницата. Това хидравлично масло
starts to attack the air spring from the inside and over time damages it. The truth is, this shock absorber is completely leaked and that's why it knocks.
когато той обаче не си върши работа,
When it isn't doing its job, the entire load is taken by the bushing and the bearing,
опората
by the top mounts, and the result is a terrible knocking noise. As with every shock absorber repair, here we'll also show
така и при този пускаме
a dynamometer test of the shock absorber before the repair.
преди ремонта.
based on the graph. We'll see how it performs.
Ще видим как се държи.
The low load graph is relatively good,
Графиката на ниско натоварена е относително добра.
but under higher load it's no longer symmetrical.
Се натовари вече не е достатъчно симетрична. Ето е тук както е. А и се чува чукане.
You can hear a knocking sound. We'll also run a manual test so you can see its behavior. You can hear the knocking.
Както се чува едно чукане.
Now we'll open the shock absorber
Сега ще отворим амортисьора.
and show you what's inside and what its main problems are.
Само главните проблеми.
Here's the shock absorber opened. Interestingly, on these units, the air spring is filled through the shock absorber's piston rod.
На амортисьора.
The air comes in here and through this tiny hole it fills the air spring.
Въздушната възглавница.
This is the main culprit for the problems.
Главният виновник за
The oil seal.
проблемите. Масният семеринг.
It seals here on the rod and wears out. At the moment it's as hard as.
И се износва. В момента е твърд.
It's already as hard as plastic and has no elasticity.
Трябва да хвърлите всичко.
Here's the new oil seal. This is an improved oil seal
Подобрен маслен семеринг, който се
that will certainly last much longer than the original and won't leak.
против протичане.
This is the guide. Here we replace the bushing because, as we said it,
Казахме
this is a McPherson shock absorber under heavy load and the guide wears out.
износва.
The bottom valve will also be serviced.
Bottom valve, долният клапан, той също ще бъде
And this, of course, is the working piston.
работното бутало.
What's interesting about our solution?
То решение при нашият solution.
With every shock absorber repair,
На амортисьора, както и преди сме ви показвали,
we make the shock absorber serviceable. That is, once it's been repaired by us.
веднъж ако бъде
In the future, the oil seal will be replaceable.
масленият семеринг ще бъде сменян. И ако
And if any issues arise, a future repair will be very inexpensive.
следващия ремонт ще струва жълти стотинки.
An interesting fact is that the air spring is welded to the shock absorber.
Възглавницата е заварена към...
For this purpose here, we've removed this metal part.
Сме премахнали тази чиния, тази метална част.
Because we modify the air spring.
Защото ние модифицираме възглавницата. Защо я модифицираме?
Why do we modify it? So that it becomes detachable from the shock absorber, so the air spring can be separated from the damper.
Да бъде отделена от амортисьора, при нужда
And if needed, we can service the shock absorber
сервизиране амортисьора без да се
without having to cut the air spring again, weld it, and so on.
нататък. Ето е част.
Here's part of the old air spring, and here is the new air spring made by us.
Възглавница е направена от нас.
It's slightly modified with a special rubber sleeve. The rubber sleeve is manufactured especially for us. Our brand is of flawless quality and will last for years to come.
Качество и ще държи години напред.
One of the important things is the top mount. We're showing you the original top mount.
Показваме ви оригиналната опора.
Here is the bearing, and this is a brand new top mount.
Чисто нова оригинална опора, каквато е налична.
Such brand new top mounts are available only from us. Why am I showing you this? Very often people think the knocking is only due to the bearing.
Хората си мислят, че тропа само отлага.
We offer bearing replacement in the original top mount.
На оригиналната опора. Можем да сменим само.
We can replace only the bearing, but the knocking remains.
Спира да тропа, продължава да тропа.
Inside the top mount there is a rubber bushing.
Самата опора има гумен тампон.
This here is rubber. This part inside is rubber.
Е гума.
This rubber wears out and gets crushed.
Тази гума заминава като тампон. И сега ще видим
This is the metal part into which the bearing is press-fitted.
метална част, в която е запресован лагера. Тази метална част
This metal part is connected to the other metal part by rubber.
посредством каучук, гума. Ето, той се вижда.
You can even see how the rubber has already started to tear. Now I want you to pay attention
Сега искам да обърнете
to the distance between these two metal parts and compare it with that on the new top mount.
две метални части и на новата опора. Тук
Here the bushing has been crushed, and when the car goes over a bump,
мине през дупка, а това е хибриден.
This metal part starts hitting the other metal part.
Тази метална част започва да удря в другата
In other words, the bushing collapses and you get metal-to-metal knocking. With the new top mount, we have fresh rubber and the mount won't knock.
Имаме свеж каучук, свеж тампон и
The good thing is that, if needed, we replace the top mount. We have it in stock. You can try to look for it.
може да се опитате да я потърсите.
You'll find it isn't offered as an aftermarket part.
И благодарение на нашите
We managed to obtain brand new top mounts,
добием с чисто нови, оригинални такива опори, които са
which are extremely hard to find. Now we'll assemble everything, the shock absorber with the air spring and the top mount.
с опората и ще ви покажем.
And we'll show you the complete, ready-to-use unit.
Пускаме финален.
Final dynamometer test of the shock absorber after the repair to show the performance graph
Покажем графиката, както да
and to see the resistance it produces in compression and rebound.
разгъване.
After that, we'll assemble it with the air spring and the top mount.
Опората ще го покажем и е готов за употреба.
The shock absorbers on the RX AL10 are not adaptive.
От това поколение не са адаптивни.
No knocking, no clunking, no squeaking.
Както се чуе, няма чукане, няма
The
тропане.
shocks are non-adaptive and relatively soft.
Не са адаптивни и са
The vehicle is quite heavy.
Автомобилът е доста тежък.
After all, we're talking about a hybrid. There, it's done. The shock absorber is assembled with a new air spring.
С новата променена.
There's no weld here. We now have a tight sealed joint.
Вече имаме плътна сглобка.
The new top mount has a new bushing. The air spring is currently inflated.
С нов тампон. В момента е надута възглавницата, както виждаме. Може да се спусне въздух.
This is what you get when you have your original shock absorber repaired by us.
На вашият оригинален амортисьор.
This is a brand new original shock absorber from Toyota, purchased directly from Toyota.
Оригинален амортисьор от Toyota. Нали, закупен от Toyota. От Lexus. Ето и парт номера.
We bought it so we can compare and test our parts.
Закупили сме го, за да можем да сравняваме и да тестваме нашата работа с
Against a brand new original part, the original shock graph.
графика на амортисьора,
The top mount characteristics, even the knocking.
дори за тропане.
Everything we showed you here, the same, a useless dust boot and a welded air spring. The price of the original part, as of the filming date of this video,
Датата на заснемане на клипа
at Toyota Bulgaria is 5,256 BGN, or about 2,600 euro. For a 15-year-old vehicle, that's a pretty serious price.
е доста сериозна цена.
The price for our repair can be found on our website and is much, much, much lower. Thank you and see you next time, and don't forget to like the video.